We have with us right now in our studios Mr. Ramesh Nair, CEO, Business and International Director at JLL India. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Nair, everyone talks about real estate being the worst hit because of demonetization. Is it a real fear or is it overblown? Is it a panic mode that we are in right now?
Ananda, you need to give me some time so that I can explain.
Right.
You have given a lot of time to stock market gurus on your channels who have all been predicting 20, 30, some of them even a 50% crash in real estate prices. Even before all these stock market gurus predict a 1% drop in TCS or Reliance, they do so much of analysis, but everyone comes on live TV and starts predicting a 30% drop in real estate prices, which is kind of quite irresponsible. Just because the person, while buying a house in Malabar Hill or Pali Hill, the landlord asked him for 30% cash, doesn't mean every transaction in the Indian real estate market is done with cash. There are markets in the country which is cash driven. There are pockets in NCR, there are pockets in Bombay. If you look at markets like Bandra or a Juhu or a Khar or a Ghatkopar, these are some of the markets which has cash. Right. Obviously, these kind of markets, there will be an impact. But most of the big markets, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Pune, most of Bombay, these markets are very driven by end user demand these days. Yeah. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we have seen significant amount of speculators get out of the market. We have seen a lot of investors who used to invest in cash get out of the market. Again, because the real estate market hasn't seen the kind of capital appreciation which these people were expecting. So I think painting the entire real estate market with one brush is definitely wrong. If you look at where do Indians save money, stocks and mutual funds, even today Indians invest only $5 billion a year. Access Capital had done a very good research last year. Indians invest $160 billion in real estate every year compared to just $5 billion in stocks and mutual funds. So the stock gurus who you invite on the show, they are obviously competing with the real estate sector for investments. So they need to be showing the real estate sector in bad light. Leave it to the experts to comment. I don't comment on television that a Reliance or a TCS is going to drop by so much of percentage without doing any homework. So I think people before commenting, instead of creating unnecessary panic in the market, need to be doing their research before commenting.
Fair point there. Just give me a sense as to how much is your own assessment in terms of the impact of demonetization of the real estate. Because at the margins, as you said, that at the margins, there's still a significant amount of cash transactions when people buy. There is also a process of requiring cash just to build a house.
I'll talk about some of the positives before I talk about the impact. Let's look at some of the positives. This obvious move means there's a lot of money which will come into the banking sector, which means home loans are going to get cheaper, which means lower EMI. More money in the banking system also means that there will be more money given for infrastructure. More people will start using banks now, which also means that there will be more people who will qualify and will become eligible for home loans, right, which will again help the again the real estate sector. Today more people will be forced to take white money and do deals, which also means it's good for the housing finance sector. It's also going to be good for the lenders. A lot of real estate developers used to take money from not so institutional sources. Today they will have to depend on institutional sources like banks, private equity, NBFCs. Good for the real estate lending community. This move will obviously increase India's rating globally. So the Moody's and the S&Ps of the world who will improve India's rating, which will lead to more institutional money coming into India. Today, foreign direct investment in real estate has increased over the last 3 years from $1.5 to $2.5 to $4.5 billion. That there will be a lot more coming in. The Indian real estate market will be seen as a market which is a lot more transparent. Over the years, the JLL Global Transparency Index, India in the last 4 years has moved from rank 44 to rank 36. Obviously, this will help bring in more pension, more sovereign, more patient capital back in India. Now, let's look at what the impact is going to be. Primary markets with cash involved, impact will be there. But 90% of the primary markets in India are non-cash based. There it's not going to be any impact. Let's look at the secondary markets. Secondary market, obviously we see an impact. Many markets in India, secondary, there is cash involved. These markets will have an impact. Office market, zero impact. Office leasing there is no cash involved anyway. Look at the largest owner of office space in India today. It's an American private equity fund. Blackstone is the largest owner of office space in India at 33 million square foot. The largest occupier of space in India in terms of leasing volumes. Again, American companies contribute nearly 50% of leasing volumes. Again, no impact. Right. Sectors where there will be an impact, obviously land aggregators will be impacted. Land aggregators, whether it's for residential development or industrial or warehousing, where a lot of cash is involved, those markets will be impacted. SRA markets, where there's a lot of cash involved, that market will be involved.
What
in
is
Bombay,
SRA
it will be impacted.
Sorry, could you just, what is an SRA market?
SRA is the Slum Redevelopment Authority.
Okay. All right.
So redevelopment of slums, obviously those aggregators pay in cash. That land supply will be impacted. Transferable development rights, TDR, which again in Bombay has a certain element of cash in it, that will be impacted. Daily wage workers who are paid by contractors on a daily basis, who are not getting paid for the last few days. So expect some construction delays because of that. So these are some of the sectors which will get impacted. But look at the big developers, whether it's an Oberoi or a
Nair, you know, I was talking to a person who's a contractor for a developer, for a big developer. He does some projects for a big developer, and he was saying that from day one you have to have some amount of cash in your hand, because when you buy bricks, when you buy wreath or sand, when you get your labor contractors in, and of course when the inspector comes, when there is a police inspection, when there is a municipality inspection, when there's an electricity guy who comes, you have to hand over cash. So there is a degree of cash operation even for the white space. The money being paid by the buyer might be white, the developer might be operating entirely in white, but the final last mile, which is the contractor, has to operate a lot in cash. And here I'm making a distinction between cash and black. Now that cash replacement appears to will take about 4 to 5 months. That's what a lot of people are estimating. Will that affect the pace of development?
I agree with your analysis on that, Anindya. What I feel is there will be a cash crunch, that 1 to 2 months where laborers are not being paid, where that day-to-day out-of-pocket expenses where developers need cash. This move will definitely delay projects in the country by 2 months, at least under construction projects, because construction work will slow down. So that's a correct analysis. But if you look at the large developers today, who are people like an Oberoi Realty or a Reheja Corp or a Godrej, either all these developers are listed or have a lot of institutional capital. These developers don't have any scope for doing unaccounted money, black money deals in the market. So these developers obviously are not going to be impacted, because all their transactions happen above
as far as the inventory
check.
is concerned, you're saying, and there is a high inventory already. But I'm saying that once, when I had to redo my kitchen, I paid the person a check, right? The contractor. The contractor took out cash, and the way the contractor spent it, I had no control over it. So what the process after that is not within my hand. So my transactions were all white, but were the contractor's transactions black? I have no control over that. That's what I'm saying. So the contractor, which is the last mile, that is the key thing to look at.
Yes. Subcontractors and contractors will get impacted. They'll be forced to move towards more white money transactions. at least till the time there is more cash coming out of banks and ATMs. But the amount of cash and unaccounted money in the system has considerably reduced. The very fact that housing finance companies have done so well over the years just shows that how much of how organized and transparent and professional the Indian real estate market has become over the last few years.
Tell me one thing, Mr. Nair, is it true that something like buying bricks, again, this I got from a particular contractor, that when you buy brick from a temporary kiln, which is essentially an illegal kiln in that sense, it costs you half of what it would cost you if that kiln was essentially operating with full licenses. When you buy sand, it's much cheaper to buy it in cash than, even if you actually go out and pay a tax on it, you declare that you bought it, it's still cheaper to buy sand from a person who's not in the informal sector. The same is true about tiles, the same is true about buying long steel products. So that entire process is going to be affected. It's going to take time for that process to come into the banked white space.
That is exactly the reason why I said, Andy, that there will be 1 to 2 months of delay till things settle in, and there would be enough cash available in the system. Anybody who was dealing with cash, whether it was land aggregators or, like I mentioned, SRA plot promoters, we believe the impact is going to be huge, mainly in tier 3, tier 4 cities, where again, I've heard stories of how developers in tier 3 cities, like let's say Surat, would ask 50% in cash. Obviously, these kind of developers were waiting to get into trouble. The Modi government has been saying in the last 2 years that please clean up your act. And people who didn't clean up their act will have to pay the price for it, will have to go through that trouble. But that doesn't mean the prices are going to crash overnight. Let's just rewind back to 2009, end of 2008, when the world came crashing, when some of the world's largest banks lost 95% of their market cap over a few days. Even then, the worst of times, we saw the Bombay real estate market actually coming down just by 10%. So we need to keep these kind of things in mind. It's easy for, again, the stock market gurus to sit in studios and comment about 30% market drop. We didn't see that even in 2009 when the world came tumbling down. 95% was the erosion of some of the global banks who lost their market cap within a few days. So we need to, I think your sector, the media, should kind of be a little careful about putting people on channels who don't create any panic. Obviously, they're not going to say a Reliance stock is going to drop by 30% overnight, right? So how can the real estate sector drop by 30%? Anindya, let me ask you a question. You realize tomorrow that the house you're staying in has lost 5% value. Will you move out of your house? You won't. You realize your neighbor's houses become more expensive than yours. You're not going to move out. We don't have Black Fridays and Black Thursdays and Black Mondays in real estate. Even if real estate, if prices have to drop 10%, it happens over a period of 2 years. We have never seen any market. Show me one market in the last 20 years where prices have come down crashing by 30%. So that's why I'm again requesting media houses that we need to be careful when people make these kind of predictions in the market. Just because ours is a good punching bag sector, anybody can go on air and keep saying the market will drop 30%, creating panic in the market.
In fact, even if there were black money in the system in real estate, I would imagine people would not want to sell so that they don't draw any attention to the fact that there's black money sitting under the equity in their house.
Exactly. So let's go after these people who are doing black money deals. I think that's what the government needs to focus on. The country needs housing. There's so much of demand for housing. Still 20 million units are required in urban areas in India. That doesn't vanish. People still need homes to stay. People need to still rent out housing. People still need offices. We need places to shop. So that demand is going to continue. If there's more money in the system coming in, more legal money, it eventually has to be spent. And it will be spent in sectors like real estate. Again, just one thing on the global front. Globally, if you look at where is most of the real estate wealth concentrated in, the global real estate wealth is $220 trillion compared to equities, which is just a $55 trillion mark. Again, that's where the equities have to compete with the real estate sector to increase their share. Maybe that's the reason people come on your channels and talk about 30% reduction in prices.
To be fair to them, they're actually talking about the real estate stocks. So it affects them as well if the stock price goes down. So it's not just
stocks will be impacted, but most interviews I've seen on various business channels in India, people are not talking just about the real estate stocks. They were talking about real estate prices as such. So again, I'm coming in real estate prices, even if it drops 10%, it happens over a few years' time, anywhere in the world. There are no crashes which happen like 50% in 3 days, prices are going to crash, and that's totally illogical.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nair, and thanks for that warning to us and our viewers as well, that not to get carried away and go into panic mode right now. Ramesh Nair there, CEO, Business and International Director, JLL India. Thank you so much.